Another way of interpreting the new K-12 curriculum is what is now understood as constrained versus unconstrained skills. Okay. Scott Paris in 2005 suggested or proposed that there are two kinds of reading skills. These are your constrained, which have a fixed endpoint, should be mastered early on, vary in which children learn them, help one learn other skills, but are an end in themselves. And these include print knowledge, phonemic awareness, and letter ID. So what does constrained mean? There's a boundary to it. There's a deadline to it. There's a due date for it. You're constrained by time, you're constrained by age, or you're constrained by grade level. Unconstrained means it's free, it's borderless, it is continuous throughout the school years and even beyond. It takes longer to learn, and these include vocab, reading, listening, comprehension. These are skills that even as adults you learn over time. You're never perfecting it. You've never perfected a listening skill, for instance. You acquire additional skills later on. Now, I want you now to look at the domains again. Okay. Look at the domains in the table that you have of the K-12 English ELA curriculum. Which do you think are constrained and which are unconstrained? Discuss it with the group. Okay, I will show what we mean by constrained and unconstrained again. You can encircle the constrained skills. Circle. Circle what you think are constrained skills. Are we ready? Constraint. How many constrained skills did you identify? 3, 4, 5, 3, 5, 6. Okay, let's see. When we say constraint, think about why they're thought of as constrained versus unconstrained. Why did I shade some as blue and some as yellow? What is blue? Constrained, correct? And the yellow are your unconstrained. Okay. Notice that in the ELA curriculum, your blue constrained skills are only in the what levels? K to 3. Meaning, what? If it's constrained and it's restricted to kinder to grade 3, what does that mean for the student? Or what does that imply for the learner? They should have already mastered it. Exactly. And they should already have foundational skills in constrained skills long before they go into the higher grade levels. Yet, look at the manner by which your unconstrained skills are also presented. And these are the rest of the 11 or 13, or 10 rather. What do you notice? Do the unconstrained skills begin only in 4th grade? What do you notice? Some as early as kinder, which means what? What does this mean then? If it's continuous and the development of your constrained and unconstrained skills are also simultaneous. It's continuous and at the same time simultaneous. So even if there's mastery, assumed mastery by 3rd grade, all the rest of the macro or language skills and or domains should continue throughout the academic life of a student. And it should go on because it's unconstrained. So no domain is any less important again than another. But the three, or the four rather, phonological awareness, book and print knowledge, alphabet knowledge, phonics and word recognition, are necessary and requisite competencies or domains to the rest of the other domains. And that's the reality of it. Okay, so if we look at it, your unconstrained skills include reading text, comprehension, vocabulary knowledge, aspects of writing, aspects of speaking, while your constrained skills are phonics, phonemic awareness, and concepts about print. Now, what happens if these are not mastered? Breakdown in reading skills. So without these will not be intact as well. So that is the role of looking at constrained versus unconstrained skills in terms of the domains of the new ELA curriculum. Is this helpful? Okay. Another way of looking at the unconstrained skills are you have the list of the 9 lifelong learning skills. These are all your lifelong literacy skills. Another interpretation of this is to look at it as a sense of continuum, moving from highly constrained to unconstrained. So writing your name, unless you have 10 different names, is really a highly constrained skill. So alphabet, high-frequency word list, phonics, phonological awareness, oral reading fluency, and vocab and comprehension are things or skills that you learn even as an adult or as you develop later on in the school years. So there are very limited numbers of constrained skills. Okay? So I hope that is kind of helpful for everybody. All right. Why the focus on constraint in terms of reading skills? Because in the long run, when you try to analyze the reading difficulties students have in the older levels, it's often based on foundational skills that have not been achieved as prerequisite to higher or more complex reading skills. And we should look at that as a basis for planning instruction or planning curriculum. Okay? Because sometimes what you teach in 3rd grade might actually be easier than what is taught in 1st grade, or something that's taught in 6th grade is much simpler than what is taught in 4th grade. So the skills do not have a logical flow in terms of what should come first, come second, and come last. So that's moving to the next part of our discussion. Okay. Trying to find a way of broadly addressing reading difficulties by focusing on learning and curriculum first. Okay? All right. Now, we often say we get frustrated. Nakakainis yung estudyante ko to, hindi na natuto magbasa. At marunong na magbasa to, 4th grade na. Okay. Assuming, marunong siya mag-decode. Remember, decoding is different from comprehension, from understanding. Okay. Put yourselves in their shoes. Oh, try nga. Try nga to. You know how to decode? Can you decode it? Question na lang. What language is it in? French. Very good. You probably know this. Frère Jacques, dormez-vous, dormez-vous. Sonnez le matin, ding dang dong. Okay. Oh, what is this? Are you sleeping? Brother John. Bells are ringing. Sing it in French. Frère Jacques, Frère Jacques, dormez-vous, dormez. Sole le matin, ding dang do. Sonne, sonne. Do you hear? Dormez. Are you? Dormez-vous. Are you? The root word is dormir, to sleep. Dormez-vous. Okay. This one. Now, think about what you went through when you were trying to read it in French. And that is your student struggling to read English. Okay. Struggling to read new text, not the one just English. Okay, this one. Easier dapat Spanish eh. Everybody, let's try. 1, 2, 3. Cinco pequeñas ranitas con lunares. Comiendo los más deliciosos bichitos. Bad word. Uno salto al... Okay. How many went through Spanish 12 units? Ala, yung mag-raise ng hand. Ako 12 units Spanish. And I never learned. Okay. I never learned. But you see, if you're speaking, you read, you understand, right? Okay. What is the problem you're encountering now? Comprehension. I don't understand. Why? Why can't you understand? Why? Vocabulary. O ano pa?
There's no relationship.
There's no relationship
To the self.
to yourself. Parang doesn't make sense. I don't know what it means. O ano pa? No prior knowledge. Ano pa? Can you make a guess about what it is? You can't understand, but are you trying to predict or guess what it's all about? How? What are you using to make you help you make a prediction of what it is? The picture. Okay, so maybe it's about frogs, maybe it's about flies, maybe it's about frogs sitting on a trunk. Okay. So what word do you think is frog? Ranitas? Sentadas? Okay. Alright. So how does it feel? How does it feel? I'm just making you feel like what it feels, what your students feel when they're struggling to make sense of what they read. This is exactly the sense of frustration and the difficulty they have when they're reading texts that they barely understand. Okay, are you ready for what this poem is all about? 5 little speckled frogs on a speckled log, eating the most delicious bugs. Yum, yum. One jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are 4 speckled frogs. Okay. How did you feel? Were you frustrated? A little bit. How did you feel about not understanding what you read? Not interesting for you, right? So what? Doesn't make sense. I won't try to make sense anymore because it's not interesting to me. And that vocabulary, or some will justify it as something I won't be able to use anyway because it's in Spanish, right? See how some of our students feel when they're struggling with reading. So here we are. We're moving to that part of the session where we try now to answer 3 questions. Are there red flags? Red flags meaning there's a problem. What are the red flags to us as teachers that there is a problem in reading comprehension? Second, What are the underlying causes of reading comprehension problems? Discounting any disability, although there are some children who do have a learning disability. And the third is there a way first globally or on a broader scale of addressing these learned skills? I have a little student, her name is Princelet. Princelet, she's grade, I think she's second grade. At the end of at the end of March, just this school year, at second grade, she was ending second grade. In February, my principal and my teachers approached me and said, "Ma'am, we have a problem." With whom? "Ma'am, it's Princelet." "Where is she?" And I go, "Okay, what's the problem?" Then she suddenly comes to the office. This charming, cute little girl. "Hi!" She goes like that to me. And I go, how could she have a problem? She's such a charming, madaldal girl, very verbose. Okay. "Ma'am, there's a problem talaga." "Ano nga problema?" And then she said, "Ma'am, she really can't cope with the academic work. She's been fighting with everybody in class, throwing a tantrum na in class." And I go, "Wait," I said, "this child has been with us over the last 4 years, and you're now telling me that this is the only time you're noticing it." And then they're all apologetic. Because by the end of kinder, I tell all my teachers, the red flags should be already raised as early as kindergarten. Because I cannot have a parent approaching me in 6th grade telling me that we didn't do anything to address a reading issue. So they go, "Ma'am, that's why it's our problem." Because she was okay in 1st grade. But in 2nd grade, her reading skills totally collapsed. So what do we do? It's almost the end of the school year. They all looked at me, "Ma'am, that's why we're coming to you, because we don't know what to do anymore." And I told her, "Okay, are the parents willing to pull her out of 2nd grade?" We were almost ending 2nd grade. And you know, in the DepEd LMS, you only have a last shot at dropped. Yeah, something like that. I asked, in the LMS, is it already due to submit? Are we already due to encode? I think we all understand. And my teacher said, "Ma'am, I think she had like a 1 week window, because it's the last day we can call it dropped." And I said, "Talk to the parents, put her on an individual reading program." And now she's doing we have what we call an individually paced II program for kids with any learning issues. And they go through the modules at their own pace. And she accepted it. The parents easily accepted it because they knew that the child was crying at home. Every time she'd go to school, she was crying, didn't want to go to school anymore. And we said, this is something that we have to address. So she comes, ready for her new classroom. Okay? And she goes to the first day of class, does a complete turnaround in reading intervention in school, and goes to school in the summer because she has to catch up, make up for lost time in terms of reading skills. And you know what? I have never seen a happier princess in my entire life. And now she's so happy and she's beginning reading because she's supposedly already supposed to have mastered her phonics and all that, but she hasn't. And sometimes those kinds of decisions are difficult to make, but in the long run, it's the child's sake that is more important when it comes to instruction and curriculum in the long run. So there are kids like that. You will have kids who will struggle either individually or as a class. And we also had a batch. Remember that time when a lot of the kinder kids were promoted? No, not mass promotion, because they said grade 1 was 6 years old. But my kids were only in nursery. I had children who were turning 5, who were turning 6, but were not yet ready to read. I had a batch like that, and we had to do a lot of intervention in terms of beginning reading. The interventions are really effective when they're handled early on, in beginning reading stages. They're more difficult when you reach the age grades 3, 4, 5, and 6 in high school. Those are the most difficult ones to intervene for. But why is it so important anyway that we need to understand or read something? Okay, just like reading French or Spanish, this is foreign to many of our students. One, reading through the particular problem or reading through this particular test item. You mentioned earlier, I don't understand what that word means. It doesn't make sense. Genealogy, some kids will not even know how to decode it. Sasabihin nila, genealogy. Okay. So there are certain skills or competencies that in fact we need to know prior to learning or understanding text. Okay. Now this is the perfect time to show you the video of the girl who hated books. Very interesting about that particular video is that it shows you that there really are some of reasons why students love to read and there are some who hate reading. Now, what are some of the reading behaviors that teachers should watch out for? Okay, these are just some examples. One, he seems to focus on the wrong aspect of a passage. For example, he concentrates so much on the details that the main idea is lost. She can tell the outcome of a story but cannot explain what does not go behind what is presented in a book to think about what might happen next, why characters took the action they did. She brings up irrelevant information when trying to relate a passage to something in her own life. He seems to have a weak vocabulary. Sounds familiar? She cannot tell the clear logical sequence of events in a story. Sounds familiar? He does not pick out the key facts from informational text. Or he cannot give you a picture of what's going on in a written passage, for example, what the characters look like or details of where the story takes place. So this student is just totally lost in the text, even if it's a narrative or even if it's an informational text. So, what could be some reasons aside from hating reading? Okay, which we hope that we don't get our students to do, to love. What we want to do is to be able to love reading, right? One, poor decoding and word recognition skills. We now know the role of what we call as constrained reading skills. So without well-developed constrained skills, they will have a difficult time moving forward in terms of reading competencies. Two, little background knowledge. When you were asked to read French or Spanish, it was hard because you did not have enough background knowledge on what those could possibly mean. Three, inability to apply comprehension strategy. There are certain strategies, or there are now assumed to be essential learning strategies or reading strategies that all students should learn or have acquired or developed and use across even content areas and literature. So we will know these. Limited vocabulary. If they do not know what the word means, it's often a struggle to move to the next word in a passage or a sentence. Third, or fifth, poor reading habits. Did Mina have a reason not to love reading? No, she just hated it. But she had all the opportunity to develop good reading habits. Why? Who were her best role models? Her parents were very good readers, avid readers, in fact. Text structure. If they don't know that it's a cause-effect text versus a descriptive text, then they might end up looking for a cause and then effect when it's only describing something. Or they even know that it's a story versus an informational text. Length of text. A lot of teachers say this. Ayaw nila magbasa na mahaba. But, in life, the truth is, we have to read something long. That's why Twitter, the inventor of Twitter was so smart. He knew 128 characters, you're done. 124 or 128. And, he caught on the whole world because everybody probably dislikes reading long passages. Instagram, how many paragraphs can you put on an Instagram thing? Only maybe at the maximum of 10 sentences and your reader tunes out. Facebook, when you have a friend, lahat tayo meron yan, ang haba mag-post. O, anong ginagawa nyo? Grabe, hinayd. Baka may nag-a-unfriend. Diba? Pag mahaba, that's probably the way it is. But even worse when it's informational text or maybe a novel. Okay. Book report, lagot. What do students say? Pag book report, read this novel. What's their first reaction? Ang kapal. Diba? Pag manipis, okay. Pag makapal, hindi. Lack of interest. And this is very difficult to deal with. Like Mina, she was only forced to read because all the animals were creating chaos in her home. Poor role models. The responsibility of loving reading is not just the teachers alone, but also of the families. And families, unfortunately, who do not have access to good literature will also have children who do not enjoy or love and appreciate reading. Of course, this is not naman something that we don't discount, no? But vision problems are also very obvious, sometimes solvable, more oftentimes solvable problems when it comes to reading difficulties. So if you look at the range of potential reading difficulties and the causes, you can kind of identify what you need to reinforce or reteach, perhaps, in your schools. Okay. Just very quickly, I think you have strips of paper on your desk. Can you try to identify what is the most, or the top 3 most difficult reading skill for your students in grades 4 to 6? One strip, one difficulty. Try to identify just 3. What are the most difficult reading skills grades 4 to 6 students have? Write them down with pencil pen on one strip. Okay, keep those little cards on your table and let's see what we might be able to do with those in a while. Okay. One of the things we can look at when we remember or when we consider the curriculum is in terms of individual remediation. I know that for most schools, for most teachers, that's not a feasible option, right? Doing one-on-one intervention is often something that a lot of schools can afford to do. One, because of either manpower difficulties or lack of manpower to run individual remediation, or even to look at the cost of running it after school or outside school for many parents. Now, knowing that in the ELA curriculum, or in curriculum in general, there is supposed to be a logical progression of skills, what might be the easiest way of approaching a reading difficulty like that is to look at the prerequisite skills that lead to those higher order, in fact, those more complex, more difficult reading skills. When we look at reading comprehension, and most of the difficulties, actually all the difficulties that we've mentioned, all fall already here. in comprehension strategy. But remember, prior to stepping into comprehension strategies and reading comprehension, these should have previously been well developed. Perhaps the problem is not just here, but still somewhere above it, somewhere before it. Fluency, fluency is really smooth decoding. There's no more hindrance to decoding new words. The student does not read like the word is pautal-utal. Hindi na siya pautal-utal magbasa. Fluency is very smooth reading, which means that one, there is perfect word recognition and decoding skill in place, and that even vocab is quite good. That he doesn't have to guess how a word is supposed to be pronounced, because there is already that aspect of fluency or mastery. Now, the comprehension strategies, as I mentioned, will be addressed tomorrow when we think about how students should be taught explicitly or deliberately how to think through a text. Kasi minsan, a lot of teachers think that students will figure it out themselves. Bahala ka. Figure it out. What's the main idea? When we say, get the main idea, we assume that the students will get it. And what do students tend to do? They often think that the first sentence in a paragraph is the main idea. And sometimes it's, no, especially with very, very complex or very, very advanced types of literature. Okay. So there are strategies, and these are strategies like visualizing, summarizing, predicting, that have to be taught explicitly or taught deliberately to all our students. And you will get to that tomorrow. But first, by looking at curriculum, maybe we can help augment or at least try to figure out where the gaps are in the way we plan instruction. As I mentioned, if you think about it, do the first quarter skills seem easier than your third quarter skills? Do fourth grade skills lead to grade 5 leading to grade 6 skills? Is there progression in the way we look at certain reading skills or competencies? How would it look like? And this is what we now understand as learning progression. For instance, the aspect of phonics and word recognition follows a certain logical pattern. You don't start off with multi-syllable words without beginning with 2-syllable words. Okay? Moving to multi-syllable words. Assuming that dapat by grade 3 they already know this. They don't have to teach it in 4th grade. Another way of looking at progression. You said that one of the most difficult skills that your students have is identifying main idea or key ideas and details. My question is, and the challenge to you is, do your teachers even know what to teach first over another text or another task? So for instance, what is the simplest way of determining main ideas? What should the student be able to demonstrate? At 3rd grade, okay, this is from the Illinois State curriculum. The 3rd grade student should be able to ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of the text, referring explicitly, not the text, it's written there, to the text as the basis for the answers. In 4th grade, same skill, same competency, but notice the increasing complexity of either the demonstrable task or the demonstrable performance standard, or you could say competency. And another way of looking at complexity is looking at the text itself. Is the text in second, third grade showing increasing complexity in readability? Okay, so you may be using the same comprehension strategy, but are students moving with the text structure and the type of or the level of readability as they move from one level to another? It's happened. It's happened a lot in many schools that the text in first grade is the same text in fourth grade. And then they don't realize, because teachers don't plan collaboratively, they don't realize, kaya mo pala tayo ginamit na storya. Okay? So, text readability and complexity of text also may demand the same set of comprehension strategies. But the text complexity itself determines the level of difficulty and progression. So in this case, here ask and answer questions. By fourth grade, refer to details and examples in a text. It's still in the text. When explaining what the text says explicitly and when drawing inferences from the text. Fifth grade, the same reading competency or the same reading comprehension strategy. But quote accurately from a text when explaining what the text says explicitly and when drawing inferences from the text. Grade 6. Cite textual evidence to support analysis and what the text says explicitly as well as inferences drawn from the text. Remember what we did in ATAC earlier? The critical or crucial difference here per level is the demonstrable performance. Here, if you look at the verbs, that's one way of putting it. If you look at the verbs, notice how main idea is expressed in a variety of different behaviors. Kaya ba ito ng third grade? Baka hindi, okay? You want to use it. And I will end this morning with this quote. I am not simply teaching the reading, I am teaching the reader. So thank you.